What was his response when you decided to come back?
I don't know.
What do you mean?
Well, I was just kind of like, you don't deserve to be happy over this.
She made history on ice. She claimed not one, but 2 gold medals at the 2026 Winter Olympics in Milan. She became the first American woman to capture Olympic singles gold in more than 2 decades. The world rejoiced, her country rejoiced, and her father entered her Olympics. The figure skating arena is buzzing. Thousands of spectators packed shoulder to shoulder. The atmosphere feels like tension and opportunity. And gliding out onto the ice, a 20-year-old from the United States who just 3 years earlier had walked away from all of this. Her name is Alysa Liu, and if you are not familiar with her journey yet, hold on tight, because what she has endured to arrive here is unlike almost anything we have witnessed in Olympic sports. But before we get to those gold medals, we need to go back, way back, to a little girl, a very driven father, and a sport that nearly destroyed her. Alysa Liu was never simply a skater. She was a phenomenon. By the time she was 13, she was executing quad jumps that most women do not even attempt. By 14, she was a national champion. She moved as though she had been born on ice, effortless, terrifyingly gifted. Behind all of it, her father, Arthur Liu. Arthur did not simply cheer from the stands. He invested enormously. Coaches, training programs, costumes, ice time, competitions across the globe. By his own account, Arthur spent somewhere between $500,000 and $1 million on his daughter's skating career. That is not a parent applauding at weekend soccer matches. That is a man who made his daughter's athletic success his life's purpose. But here is where the story grows complicated and deeply human. All that investment, all that pressure, it came with a cost. Alysa competed at the 2022 Beijing Winter Olympics at just 16 years old. She performed on the world's grandest stage, and then she was finished. She did not call her coaches, she did not hold a press conference, she did not personally inform the people in her circle, she announced it on Instagram, and just like that, Alysa Liu retired. I did not tell anybody because I knew I was going to receive some pushback, and then I posted about it, and that is how everyone found out. The skating world lost its mind. Fans were hurt. Coaches were blindsided. People were upset she had not told them directly. Yeah, that's the point, because I knew people would attempt to keep me in the sport. 16 years old, burned out, and courageous enough to protect herself. Years passed. Alysa stayed away from competitive skating. She breathed. She lived without the burden of expectations, without a father's investment riding on every jump. But eventually, something shifted, something within her. Not her coaches, not her father, not the federation. Something inside her yearned to return. And when she made that decision, she made it entirely on her own terms. But what happened when her father found out? That is where things get raw. In a recent conversation with Rolling Stone, Alysa opened up about the moment she told her father she was returning to skating. He was pleased, he was relieved, thrilled even. And Alysa's reaction? I was almost angry that he was happy because I was like, how dare you? Sit with that for a moment. Here is a daughter, 20 years old, thoughtful and articulate, who resents her own father's happiness over her comeback, not because she does not love him, but because she is drawing a boundary. You do not deserve to be pleased about this decision, because you were upset when I quit, so I was kind of like he should not have any opinion on it at all. This is not defiance for the sake of it. This is someone reclaiming her identity, her father's money, his involvement, his emotions. For years, they were woven into every aspect of her skating life until she could not distinguish where the sport ended and his expectations began. Her retirement was not just rest, it was separation. And her return, that had to be hers alone. I did not want him to be upset that I was coming back. I just did not want him to care, like at all, because it should not affect him as much as it did the last time around. Some reports had portrayed it as Alysa dismissing her dad, cutting him out, shutting him down. Her correction was quieter and somehow more sorrowful. He was never truly present, not fired, not dismissed, just absent in the ways that mattered most. And then came Milan, February 2026, the Olympic Games, the entire world watching. Alysa Liu, no longer a prodigy, no longer a teenager competing beneath the weight of expectations, stepped onto that ice as herself. She skated like someone who had earned every inch of that moment, technically brilliant, emotionally liberated, completely in command. When the scores arrived, the arena erupted. 2 gold medals, the first American woman to claim Olympic singles gold since Sarah Hughes in 2002. 24 years of American women pursuing that title, and Alysa Liu ended the drought. I literally cannot process this. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Sports headlines across the globe, trending on social media. A nation that had been waiting 24 years for this moment, finally exhaling. And for Alysa, standing on that podium with gold around her neck, something far more personal was unfolding. This was not simply an athletic accomplishment. This was the moment she demonstrated, to herself above all, that this comeback was the right choice, made on her terms, earned on her terms, and celebrated on her terms. Here is what makes this story larger than sports. We live in a world that tells athletes, especially young women, to be grateful, to be coachable, to smile for the cameras and acknowledge the people who sacrificed for them. Alysa Liu looked at that script and quietly discarded it. She walked away from the sport she loved because remaining was damaging her. No fanfare, no drama, just a teenage girl listening to herself. She returned to skating when she was ready, not when her father desired it, not when the federation required her, but when she needed it. And then she went out and became an Olympic champion. There's a conversation happening right now in sports about parents and pressure, about investment and ownership, about where a parent's role concludes and an athlete's independence begins. Alysa Liu is at the center of that conversation, and she is not resentful about it. She is not bitter. She is simply clear. He should not have any opinion on it at all, because it should not affect him as much as it did the last time around. That is not the voice of a defiant daughter. That is the voice of a young woman who knows precisely where she ends and where everyone else begins. She did not just win 2 gold medals in Milan, she won something far harder to find: herself. Alysa Liu, 20 years old, 2 Olympic gold medals, and a story that has only just begun.